From the story. Humans need wives all the time and you've been assigned a wife. It's me, the Petite Alien Smiled. Captain Elias Wren stood straight, hands behind his back, inside the glass-paneled observation deck of Station Harmony, an orbital diplomatic base spinning above the peaceful planet Virella. Through the window, he could see soft pink clouds and floating islands far below. The sight was beautiful, but Elias had no time to enjoy it. He had been summoned without explanation, and the message had one strange sentence at the end. You have been assigned a diplomatic companion. Prepare for bonding orientation. He didn't like the sound of it. Elias had served 12 years in the Earth Fleet, helped settle 3 colony disputes, and once negotiated a ceasefire between 2 very loud, very aggressive insectoid species. He'd faced pirates, black hole, anomalies, and political disasters. But nothing prepared him for what happened next. The door behind him hissed open. A tall, silver-uniformed Union officer stepped inside. Beside her was a small figure with violet skin, large, shining eyes, and short, shimmery hair that seemed to float. She barely reached his chest in height. Her arms were crossed, and a playful smirk tugged at her lips. Captain Elias Wren. The officer said, "This is Leonaria Virella, a certified diplomatic stabilizer. You've been matched under Protocol 431B. She is now your assigned emotional partner." My what? Elias blinked. The petite alien stepped forward, placing a hand on her hip. Your wife, she said, tilting her head with a grin. Congratulations. I smile at you politely now. I don't need a wife, Elias said calmly, especially not one assigned by space paperwork. It's not about what you want, Captain, the officer said, passing him a sleek data tablet. This is a standard procedure under Galactic Union law. Species with high-stress emotional output, like humans, require emotional balancing partners during long-term diplomatic assignments. Elias stared at the tablet. His photo was there. Under it, in bold letters, partner assigned, Linari, emotional stabilizer, Tier 4. Status, effective immediately. This must be a joke, Elias muttered. Linari stepped closer and poked, his arm lightly. You're taller than expected, but don't worry, I'm efficient. I've been married twice before, both for diplomatic reasons. Only one ended with someone throwing food. Elias sighed and rubbed his temple. This isn't how humans do things. The Union officer raised an eyebrow. You humans joined the Galactic Union. That means you follow the rules. Our rules, Leonari beamed. You'll get used to. Me, I come with a manual. Well, sort of. It's more of a suggestion scroll. The first test. Living together. That night, Elias was shown to his temporary quarters, only to find Leonari already unpacking. You live here? He asked. It's a simulation, she said, arranging her tiny teacups. We're practicing marriage, sharing space, routines, conversations. We're even attending counseling sessions tomorrow. It's required. Elias sat heavily on the edge of the couch. The room was clean and bright, decorated with neutral tones and strange potted plants that glowed softly in the dark. This is not part of my mission, he said. It is your mission now, Leonari replied, sipping something green. Your planet signed the Peace Integration Accord. That means all Earth ambassadors must have a stabilizer unless medically exempt. You're not exempt. Your brain scans showed moderate emotional bottling tendencies. She made air quotes with her fingers. Elias frowned. That's not even a real medical term. Viralan doctors think it is, and I think they're very clever. He stared at her, unsure if she was serious. Leonari simply smiled wider. The Marriage Training Center. The next day they entered a sleek training facility. The sign above read, Cultural Union Partnership Orientation, Suite 3. Inside, pairs of mixed species sat in circular lounges. A cheerful bot hovered in the middle, its voice chipper. Welcome to the most important bonding experience of your career. Please take each other's hand and repeat the following phrase. I trust you to guide my emotions in shared union. Elias whispered, This is ridiculous. Leonari reached for his hand without hesitation. Just say it, or we'll have to stay longer. Grumbling, Elias repeated the phrase. Her fingers were surprisingly warm. The rest of the session included teamwork puzzles, trust falls, which he refused to do, and a virtual game where they had to build a home together in an alien jungle simulation. Elias wanted to build a safe tower. Linari wanted a hammock in the trees. They ended up with both. After the session, she turned to him. "You don't smile much." "I'm not here to smile," he said. "Well, I am," she replied. "It's in my contract." Clashing cultures. Over the next few days, they kept clashing over small things. She woke up early to do something called morning leaf dancing, which made the room smell like cinnamon and citrus. Elias liked silence with his coffee. She added small, glowing stones to the shower to balance his aura. He removed them. Twice. They argued about music, food temperature, and how many pillows a bed really needed, but at the same time something strange was happening. When Elias received a difficult message from Earth Command about a former crew member's injury, Linari didn't ask questions. She just made him sit, handed him warm tea, and sat beside him quietly. She didn't say, "Are you okay?" Like everyone else, she said, "I don't know what to say, but I'm here," and somehow that helped more. The beginning of something unexpected. One evening, while looking at the stars together through the observation dome, Elias finally asked, "Why are you doing this? You don't even know me." Linari looked up at the stars, her tone softer than usual. "Because peace isn't built by paperwork, it's built by people. One strange pair at a time." Elias nodded slowly. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the disaster he thought it would be. And as Linari leaned back on the bench beside him, humming a Virilan lullaby, Elias realized something truly bizarre. He didn't mind having a wife, at least, not this one. From the story, humans need wives all the time, and you've been assigned a wife. It's me, the Petite Alien Smiled. Captain Elias Wren sat at a long conference table, staring at a glowing screen. Across from him, Linari was swinging her legs under the table and humming softly to herself. A robotic instructor hovered nearby, its voice cheerful and too loud. "Welcome to the Cultural Union Marriage Simulation Program Level 2, the robot chirped. "Today's lesson, understanding, conflict, and cooperation." Elias leaned back in his chair and sighed. "More marriage training?" Linari smiled and waved at the robot. "He's just grumpy because he didn't sleep well. He still refuses to try my dreamstones." "I don't need dreamstones," Elias muttered. "I need actual rest." Linari raised an eyebrow. "Then stop talking in your sleep. Last night you ordered a full space fleet to turn left." Elias blinked. "I did what?" She giggled. "You even gave a speech about chairs." The robot buzzed excitedly. Emotional humor detected. Excellent progress. Elias rubbed his forehead. He wasn't sure if this was marriage training or emotional endurance testing. A simulation of real life. Their next task was a full day in the Union Life Simulator, a giant virtual environment where they were supposed to act like a married couple on a shared mission. When they stepped inside, the world around them shifted. Trees grew tall with glowing leaves, a small house sat beside a river, and a warm orange sky covered the land. Everything looked real, even the wind. A voice announced, "Your assignment, build a shelter, gather food, resolve daily problems, and maintain emotional balance." "This place is beautiful," Linari said, stretching her arms. "Let's build a hammock between those two trees." "No," Elias said firmly. "We should build near the river. Shelter first, then supplies." She made a face. Humans love rules, and you Virilans love lounging. Balance is key," she said with a wink. They started working, but it didn't take long before the differences appeared again. Elias built strong walls. Linari decorated them with colorful leaves. He wanted a stone floor. She wanted soft moss. They argued, laughed, and even chased each other around the riverbank when she stole his toolkit for fun. By the end of the day, their shelter looked strange but strong. Half military camp, half treehouse. "I admit," Elias said, sitting on a wooden bench. "You're more useful than I expected." Linari looked up from a pot of glowing soup. "And you're more flexible than you pretend to be," Elias gave a small smile. Just don't tell anyone. She grinned. Too late. I already recorded it. Past stories shared secrets that night still in the simulation. They sat beside a virtual fire. Tell me something true, Linari said, watching the fireflies. Elias thought for a moment. I lost someone once. A teammate. I gave the wrong call during a mission. I was too focused on orders. He didn't make it back. Linari was quiet. Then she said, my brother was on the first contact team when humans came to the Union. He thought Earth people were exciting, brave. He trusted them too quickly. During a misunderstanding, there was a fight. He was injured. He still walks with pain. Elias looked at her surprised. And you still signed up to work with a human? I don't judge all humans by one moment, she said softly. Besides, he forgave them. I think I should too. There was silence between them, but it wasn't awkward. It felt peaceful, like two people learning something new, not just about each other, but about the space between their worlds. The conflict test. Next simulation challenge was called the Domestic Disagreement Drill. It was simple. A misunderstanding would be programmed and the couple had to resolve it calmly. The screen flashed a message. Your partner has secretly changed your schedule without telling you. Elias crossed his arms. Did you do this? Leonari blinked. No, but the simulation says I did. Well, I don't like people changing my plans, Elias said. I don't like people who don't trust me, she replied. The argument began. Voices rose, the robot buzzed nearby, tracking their emotional tension level. Then Linari suddenly laughed. Elias paused. Why are you laughing? Because, she said, we're fighting over something that isn't even real. Elias blinked. You're right. They both sat down and Linari said, let's solve it the Virulon way. She drew a small circle on the ground and sat inside it. You talk from inside the circle, only feelings, no facts. Then we switch. Elias looked at the circle unsure, but he sat. Okay, I feel like I'm always expected to be in control. When I'm not, I feel like I've failed. She nodded, then sat in the circle. I feel like I'm always trying to make things easier for others, but sometimes I feel invisible, the robot chirped. Emotional harmony restored. Excellent, Elias looked at her. That was surprisingly helpful, she grinned. That's what wives are for. A message from home after returning to the real world, Elias received a message from Earth. It was a short video from his younger sister. Hey Elias, she said. I heard you got paired with some alien diplomat. Is she nice? Do you like her? Mom says she wants grandkids, but I told her it's a political marriage, not a love story. Elias shut the message quickly, his ears red. Leonari was nearby, watching curiously. Grandkids, huh? Don't even start, he warned, but she was already laughing. Trust begins to grow. Later that week, they were invited to observe a real diplomatic meeting between human and Virellan leaders. It was tense. Words were sharp, old wounds still fresh. Elias watched carefully, standing beside Linari. When one Virellan official insulted humans, calling them emotionally unstable species with power toys, Elias stepped forward, ready to respond. But Linari touched his arm. Let me, she said. She stepped forward and spoke clearly. I may be small, but I've lived with a human for 2 weeks now. I've seen his quiet strength, his care, his courage. He is not perfect, but he learns. That's more than I can say for many. The room went silent. Then, slowly, someone clapped. It was a start, a small victory. That night, Elias brought her a cup of tea, something similar to her home blend. You were brave today, he said. I've had good practice, she replied, sipping it. Being your wife is not boring. They sat together on the balcony of Station Harmony, watching the stars. I still think this program is strange, Elias said. It is, Linari agreed. But sometimes strange is the start of something good. They didn't hold hands. They didn't make promises. But for the first time, they didn't feel like strangers, they felt like partners. From the story. Humans need wives all the time, and you've been assigned a wife. It's me, the Petite Alien Smiled. Station harmony was peaceful on the surface. Clean white halls, soft lights, and the quiet hum of machines. But Captain Elias, Wren had learned one thing in all his years with the Earth fleet. When things felt too quiet, something was about to go wrong. That morning started like any other. Elias and Linari attended their scheduled communication class. Today's topic was nonverbal signals across species. The robotic instructor made them play a game where they guessed emotions using only eyebrow movement. Since Linari didn't have eyebrows, she won easily. "I don't need eyebrows to read your mood," she said, grinning. "You've had that serious face all week." "I always look serious," Elias replied. "Exactly." They walked out of the class together, heading toward the dining area, when a sudden alarm echoed through the hallway. "Security alert. Unauthorized breach. Detected. All personnel return to secured areas. Repeat. Station lockdown in progress." Elias froze. "That's not a drill." Linari narrowed her eyes. "Pirates?" "Or worse," he said. Chaos in the hall. The once calm station turned loud and chaotic. Doors locked. Lights flashed red. A thick voice came through the station's speakers, translated into Galactic Common. "This is the Free Corps Resistance. The Union has failed. Remove the humans or face the fire." Linari's face darkened. "They're extremists. They believe humans don't belong in the Galactic Union." "They picked the wrong station," Elias said, pulling out the small, emergency blaster he always kept under his jacket. "Come on." They moved through side halls. Elias led carefully, scanning corners, while Linari kept her ears open for sounds he couldn't hear. She guided them away from the heavy footfalls of the intruders. As they reached the second-level control deck, they found a group of Union diplomats, Virulon, Human, and others, trapped behind a sealed door. A blaster mark had damaged the panel. "We have to open it," Elias said. "They're not safe there." Linari touched the wall and took a deep breath. "I know a shortcut through the ventilation grid, but it's narrow." "You'll fit," she smirked. "And you'll get stuck." Working together, Linari slipped into the vent like a shadow. Elias moved around to the other side of the hallway to create a distraction if needed. Minutes passed like hours. Then a sound came from above. The hatch opened, and Linari dropped down with a cheerful wave. "Unlocked from the inside," she said proudly. Elias nodded. "Good work." The diplomats rushed out. One of them, a nervous human translator, named Kyle, asked, "Where do we go?" "There's a safe room in Sector C," Elias said. "Follow me, quietly." They began moving as a group. Halfway through, the sound of boots echoed again. 3 masked intruders turned the corner. Their blasters were raised. Linari pushed the nearest diplomat down. "Get back," Elias fired first, hitting the wall beside one attacker to throw them off. A short firefight followed. One intruder dropped, the others fled. Elias helped Linari to her feet. "You okay?" "I'm fine," she said, brushing dust off her shoulder. "I told you, small doesn't mean weak." The message, once the group was safe in the secure room, Elias used the backup transmitter to send a signal to Earth Command and Union Central. "Station breached. Civilians secured. Request immediate support." While waiting, they heard more messages from the intruders on the station system. "Humans bring war. Humans bring danger. Remove them or we will." The diplomats looked scared. One even whispered, "Maybe they're right. Maybe it's too soon for humans to be here." Elias stood up. "No, we are not the problem. Fear is. Ignorance is. We came to build peace. We won't be pushed out by threats." Linari stepped beside him. "He's right. I've worked with him, lived with him. He's not perfect, but he's brave and kind." Her voice was calm, but strong. "If peace fails, it won't be because of him. It'll be because we didn't stand together." Backup arrives an hour later. Union forces finally arrived. They stormed the station, captured the intruders, and restored order. Elias and Leonari were taken to medical for a quick checkup, but both were unharmed. Commander Rice, a senior Varellan officer, met them afterward. "You did well," the commander said. "Your actions saved lives, both of you." Elias gave a nod. "We were just doing our job," Leonari added with a smirk. "Some couples argue over dishes. We handled blaster fights." Commander Rice chuckled. "Maybe this whole pairing system does work?" A new bond later sitting in their quarters, Elias leaned against the wall, tired but calm. Leonari sat beside him, holding a warm drink. "You were amazing today," he said quietly. "You weren't so bad yourself," she replied. There was a long pause. "I used to think this assignment was a joke," Elias admitted. "A strange rule forced on me. But now, I'm starting to think it's the best thing that's happened to me in a long time." Leonari looked at him, eyes glowing softly. "I told you I'm a very good wife." They both laughed, and for the first time since arriving at the station, Elias didn't feel like a soldier or a stranger. He felt like someone finally finding his place. The Galaxy Watch's news of the incident spread quickly across Union channels. Videos showed Leonari and Elias defending diplomats, calming frightened species and standing together against hate. One news anchor said, "In the face of violence, it was a human and his Virulon partner who stood as a symbol of unity." Social networks called them the peace couple. Some laughed, others applauded. A few wrote stories about them. One drawing showed Leonari standing on a chair beside Elias, holding a flag of the Union. When Elias saw it, he chuckled. "They even got your height right." "I look taller in my heart," she replied proudly. A new assignment. A week later, Elias was called into a meeting with the Union leadership. "You've proven that this human-Virellan pairing has real value," the lead officer said. "We want you two to work as part of a special diplomacy and response team. High-risk, high-reward missions. You'll represent the future of Earth-Union relations." Elias looked at Leonari. She raised her eyebrows. "I'm in if he's in," she said. Elias nodded slowly. "Let's do it." They left the room as partners, no longer just a human captain and a small alien diplomat. They were something more now. From the story, "Humans need wives all the time, and you've been assigned a wife. It's me, the Petite Alien Smiled." Captain Elias Wren had faced many dangerous missions in his life. Hostile planets, broken ships, and angry alien generals. But today he faced something far more difficult. A Union Council meeting. Inside the large council chamber, hundreds of representatives from different planets and species sat in round, glowing seats. Their voices echoed in dozens of languages, each one translated into soft whispers in Elias's earpiece. He stood near the front with Leonari beside him. She was calm, standing straight with her hands behind her back, wearing the formal robes of a Virulon diplomat. Elias wore his Earth Fleet uniform, polished and sharp. They had been called here not for a rescue, but for something even bigger, to decide the future of Earth's place in the Galactic Union. And strangely, a big part of that decision now depended on their relationship. A model for peace after the pirate attack on Station Harmony, the video of Elias and Leonari working together had spread across the galaxy. Many planets began to ask the same question. Can mixed species partnerships help bring peace and understanding? The Union Council thought their pairing, originally part of a bureaucratic program, might now be something more, a possible model for future interspecies diplomacy. But not everyone agreed. An older council member with blue skin and sharp silver eyes spoke first. This match between a human and a Virulon was created by policy, not by choice. We must be careful. One peaceful case does not prove the method works. Another, a bird-like creature from the planet Solta, added, Yet this pair has saved lives, kept peace, and earned trust across species. Perhaps choice is less important than action. Elias stood silently, waiting to speak. He could feel his hands sweating. Leonari looked up at him and gave a small nod. You'll be fine, she whispered. Pretend they're just diplomats made of noodles. That doesn't help, he muttered. The offer after the council finished their debate. The head chairperson, an old tree-like being named Thalin, turned to them. Captain Elias Wren, Diplomat Lee Nari, your actions have spoken louder than any speech. We now ask you both, will you serve as official Union peace partners? This role is permanent. It requires full loyalty to the Council. You may choose to separate if you wish, but if you accept the position together, your bond will be formal and known across the stars. Elias felt the weight of the words. It wasn't just a job, it was a life change. Lee Nari's eyes were serious now. She didn't smile. She didn't tease. She looked at him with quiet strength. I'll support whatever you choose, she said, but I won't stay if you're unsure. Doubt and distance. That night, back in their quarters, the air was heavier than usual. For the first time in weeks, they sat apart. No tea, no laughter. I didn't think this would happen, Elias said softly. Lee Nari looked at him. You didn't think a fake marriage would become real? He didn't answer. Instead, he asked, would you be angry if I said I needed more time? She stood up and walked toward the window, looking out into space. No, I would understand. But I won't wait forever. Her voice was gentle, but firm. I'm not a side character in someone else's story. I have my own path. I chose to walk beside you, but I won't beg you to stay. Elias wanted to speak, but the words wouldn't come. So she left the room, and he sat alone with his silence. A visit from home. The next day, Elias received a message from Earth Command. A familiar face appeared on screen. His mother. Her short gray hair and kind eyes reminded him of things long before space and politics. I saw the news, Elias, she said, and I saw her. He blinked. You did? His mother smiled. She's strong, smart, and she seems to bring out a better side of you. Elias stayed quiet. She continued, you've spent your whole life protecting others. Maybe now it's time to build something for yourself. He didn't say anything, but her words stayed with him. Decision in the chamber. The next morning, Elias walked back into the council chamber. Lee Nari was already there, standing among the other diplomats. Her face was calm, but her eyes avoided his. She thought he would say no. He walked to the center. I was trained to follow orders. He began, to follow logic, strategy, and protocol. But something happened here that no training could explain. I found trust in someone unexpected. I found peace in a place full of noise. He turned toward Lee Nari. And yes, it started with paperwork, with rules. But what we have now is something real. She looked up, eyes wide. Elias smiled and then, clearly and loudly, said, I accept the position, and I ask that our bond be formal, not as a policy, but as my own decision. Gasps spread through the chamber. A few members clapped. Lee Nari stepped forward slowly. I also accept, she said. And I'm proud to walk beside this human, not because I was assigned to him, but because I choose him. The council chairperson nodded. Then it is decided. Let this bond be known as the first official peace partnership of Earth and Varela. A private moment after the ceremony, away from the cameras, Elias and Lee Nari stood on the garden deck of the station. The stars above twinkled. The flowers around them glowed softly in the dark. Lee Nari crossed her arms. That speech wasn't very romantic. I'm not very romantic, he replied. She said. Well, you made the right choice. But next time, try saying something nice like, you complete my mission file. Elias laughed. I'll remember that. She smiled, then reached up and took his hand. And for the first time, he held it back. Across the stars, their story began to spread further. Schools on both Earth and Varela used their partnership as an example of cross-cultural success. They were invited to meet leaders from other planets, help solve disputes, and teach young ambassadors how to work across species. They were not perfect. They still argued about food, music, and sleep schedules, but they never stopped learning from each other. And somewhere in all that, they found something stronger than duty. They found home. From the story, humans need wives all the time, and you've been assigned a wife. It's me, the Petite Alien Smiled. The small Union shuttle, Morning Promise, slipped out of hyperspace and glided toward a lonely blue-gray moon called Nyrus 4. Captain Elias Wren sat in the pilot seat, eyes steady, hands sure. Beside him, Nari checked their mission file on a clear tablet. Her feet did not reach the floor, so they swung back and forth like a child's, yet her face was all focus. They were no longer experimental partners. They were now the first Peace Ops team, sent wherever talks had failed and weapons were close to firing. Most crews needed 5 or 6 specialists. Peace Ops Team 1 needed only 2, because their strength was not numbers. It was trust. A call for help, a shaky message, had reached Union Command 2 days earlier. This is Governor Relpak of Nyrus 4. Ancient machines have awakened in our southern desert. We begged the Dakar mining fleet to wait while scientists study, but they refuse. If they drill, the relics will explode. We need help before someone fires the first shot. The Council had argued for hours. Nyrus 4 was small and poor. The Dakar fleet was rich and loud. If the Union sent warships, Dakar might leave the Union. If the Union did nothing, civilians could die. The solution was simple and risky. Send Elias and Nari. 2 people cause less fear than a fleet, but they also have no backup if things break bad. They accepted without blinking. Landing on the lonely moon, the shuttle touched dust on the edge of a vast red desert. Thin wind whistled over broken stone pillars, ruins from a civilization lost 10,000 years ago. At the base of the ruins stood 2 angry camps. On one side, Nyrus miners with worn tools and worried eyes. On the other, Dakar workers in bright steel suits and heavy drilling walkers that looked like insects with claws. Elias and Nari walked the gap between camps. No escort, no armor. Only soft silver badges on their chests that read, Peace Ops. Miners and drillers stared as they passed. A Dakar foreman, tall and wide, stomped forward. Who are you? More delay machines from the Council? Elias answered, calmly. Captain Wren, Earthfleet. This is Diplomat Nari of Varela. We are here to find a way for you to finish your work without killing anyone. Nothing is going to blow, the foreman barked. Old myths to scare children. Nari tilted her head. Sir, sensors show energy spikes under the sand. Break one seal and pressure may rise. You could lose your machines and Nyrus could lose half its air. That is bad trade for everyone. The foreman grumbled but did not order his guards to move. It was a small victory. Into the whispering ruins, Governor Relpak, a thin person with desert goggles and a constant cough, led them beneath stone arches into tunnels shining with blue symbols. Harmless static made Elias's hair stand. Nari felt heat prickle her palms. These devices woke 2 weeks ago, the governor said. None of our scientists can read them. Nari raised her light pen. I can try. Hours passed while she traced symbols, whispered soft Virellan words, and hummed matching tones. The walls blinked, then projected a starlit map. Elias watched, amazed, as lines connected moons and planets long dead. At last, Nari breathed. I understand. These are peace engines. They feed on sound harmony. If they hear weapons above, they switch from sleep to shield mode and burst, like old grenades, so no army can take the site. Elias nodded. A doomsday lock, built by pacifists, brilliant but dangerous now. Relpak frowned. Can we turn them off? Yes, Nari said, but only if both sides agree to protect the site. The machines read intent. They will listen to music of unity. One false note of anger, and they roar, the governor sighed. Dakar will never agree. Elias checked his wrist chrono. The Dakar fleet's big drill walker would start at dawn, then we convince them before sunrise, he said. The midnight plan back at the surface, the 2 partners stood between camps under a hard black sky. They set a portable hollow stage on the sand. Lights formed a small circle that glowed like a moonflower. Elias called through loudspeakers. Dakar workers, Nyrus miners, please come, we ask only 10 minutes. Curiosity won over anger. A crowd formed, silent and tense. Li'i Nari spoke first, voice clear. Long ago, the builders hid their treasure from war. They created engines that speak in patterns of sound. If we give the right pattern, the engines will open safe tunnels rich with ore and history. If we give fear, they will explode. We cannot break this code with force, we can only sing it. Murmurs rippled, a Dakar worker laughed. Sing, we are drillers, not birds. Elias raised his hand. On Earth, we tell a story. 2 wolves live in every heart. One is anger, one is hope. The wolf you feed becomes strong. Tonight we must feed hope, and let the engines hear it. He nodded to Linari. She tapped a button. Soft music drifted into the cool air, a simple melody carried by gentle strings and low drums. Then she began to sing in Virilan, slow, bright syllables that rose and fell like water. The miners listened, moved but puzzled. Next, Elias sang in Earth Common, his voice deep, matching her notes, weaving a second language into the same tune. His singing was rough but steady. The translator implants turned the mixed verses into meaning for every ear. We stand on shared dust, we breathe one sky, guardians of tomorrow, we choose life. Faces softened. A Nyrese miner hummed along. A Dakar mechanic tapped a metal can as drum. The circle of music grew. 20 voices, then 50, then hundreds, all different tongues joining one harmony. In their badge microphones, hidden sensors, recorded intent and fed the wave down into the sand. Deep below, ancient circuits recognized the song of many hearts. They pulsed once, twice, thrice, and fell quiet, peaceful. Dawn with no explosion. First light painted the desert. The big Dakar. Drill still stood idle. Its foreman walked to Elias, helmet under arm. We heard the engines fade, he said. No spike, no warning. Our sensors are clear. Linari smiled. They trust us now. If you dig with care, they will stay calm. But we ask one promise. Share the site with Nyrus and the Union Science Corps. Everyone gains. No one loses. The foreman looked at his workers, at the tired miners, at the quiet sands. He nodded. Deal. Cheers rose on both sides. Relpak wiped dust from tired eyes. You saved us. How do we thank you? Elias shook his head. Keep the peace engines safe. Let them remind everyone that defense can be gentle, not cruel. Linari added. And maybe build a little museum. I like museums. Union broadcast by. Noon, a Union drone transmitted images across the stars. Miners and drillers shaking hands. A petite violet alien raising her arms in victory. A tall human captain smiling under a dusty sun. Feeds labeled it, the song that stopped a war. Commentators argued whether music could be stronger than missiles. Teachers played the clip for students. Even the stern council chairperson Thalin allowed a soft laugh when someone remixed the song into a dance tune. One headline read, Humanities. Secret weapon is not firepower, it is partnership. Elias cringed at the exaggeration, but Leonari loved it. See, she said, poking his arm. I told you humans always need wives. It keeps the galaxy interesting. A quiet evening, a new road. That night, back on the Morning Promise, the two partners sat near the forward window. Stars slid past like silver rain. Elias poured tea into Leonari's tiny cup. I never thought singing in public would be part of my job. She grinned. Neither did I think marrying a human would turn me into a folk hero. He looked at her, serious now. Do you ever regret the assignment? She shook her head. Assignments end. Choices stay. I chose this. Elias placed his hand over hers. So did I. They watched the stars in comfortable silence. Somewhere out there, another emergency would rise. Another angry voice would shout. When it happened, Peace Ops Team 1 would fly in, 2 hearts, 2 species, 1 song, Because the secret weapon of humanity, and of every species willing to try, was not power or fear. It was the simple, stubborn choice to stand together. And that choice, sung in many voices, could move worlds.